If you're watching this and you're thinking about buying a $1,000, $3,000, or $5,000 info product, whether that's a course, a mentorship, a done-for-you service, just because you think it's going to be a shortcut to success, then hear me out. I went from the most productive period in my life, daily uploading, having a Skool group with over 180 members, and an agency making $4,300 a month just from local companies. And then you guys all saw it come crashing down right in front of your eyes. I archived my Skool group. I stopped uploading. I went radio silent. That was the worst 3 weeks of my entire life, and I'm finally back. Do you want to know what was going on? I'm going to talk about everything in this video, and I really want to save one person from making the same mistake that I did. From being broken up with, to having $5,000 in credit card debt, at the same time of having negative $200 in my checking account. I went through everything in such a short period amount of time, and I guarantee so many other people have been through the same thing, but no one's talked about this. So I want to speak today to hopefully just convince anyone to double check before they buy a really expensive course, mentorship, or program, because I want to save you from the pain that I dealt with. And if you aren't in the right place financially and mentally, then making a decision like that won't guarantee you the results that the gurus say. Instead, you'll come crashing down just like me. First of all, to preface this video, in no way, shape, or form am I taking a jab at the creator that I bought the mentorship program from. I'm now fully paid off, and I actually really like it, and I think there's a ton of useful knowledge I'm gaining. The only thing I'm trying to say here is that if you're just starting out, or maybe even if you've already made some success like I did, buying a mentorship isn't the only thing you should invest in, nor is it necessary, especially when you know where you're headed. So let's backtrack. Around April, I made a video talking about how I made about $4,300 a month from my marketing agency. At the same time, I was training for a marathon. I had a fantastic diet. I was in the best shape of my life. Life was going incredibly well. After expenses, I probably would have had about $2,000 left over in my checking account from my agency. But then again, it would have just been sitting in my account, not really doing anything. Now, I'm sure you're like me, where when you have money sitting in your account, you don't want it to just sit there. And instead, you want to reinvest it into your business. I'm not talking about the S&P 500 or buying a note or a bond. I'm talking about investing into your skill sets so you can charge a higher price and get more clients for your business. But now looking back on it, I mean, I wish I would have just kept the money in my bank account. But at the same time, a creator on Instagram that I was following for several months, taking their advice and implementing it in my business, finally released his program. I had to buy it. I mean, his mindset was just on the same wavelength of mine, and he doesn't think like other gurus. He's more creative in that sense, which I really admire. So I got in contact with him and found out that his program would have costed me about $4,800 Canadian. At the time, I wasn't doing outreach, and I wanted to scale my business doing inbound content creation. That's exactly what he did for his business, and so I wanted to replicate that. So he was the perfect fit for me. Even now talking about it, on paper, it sounds like the perfect investment. And anyways, I was already at a good monthly income, so I knew the next month, I would have had another $4,300 to work with, and with his knowledge, I would slingshot into that 5-figure a month, 10K a month mark. So I got on their payment plan and I started calculating the expenses. I didn't think first and then buy. I bought and then dealt with the repercussions later, which really bit me back in the ass. So I already had $2,000 on my credit card at the time, with a total available credit of $5,000. So what I did is I used that other $3,000, maxed out my credit card, and then took the other $1,800 payment in the next 2 weeks, which I then wouldn't have even paid with cash. That would have also been through credit. So sitting in a parking lot, delivering DoorDash, I finally decided to calculate my expenses. I realized I needed to pay off about $5,000 on my credit card within the next 3 weeks in order to not be billed for any interest. After I paid off that $5,000, I'd still have another $2,000 for the next statement to be paid. Now this is all while delivering results for my 4 clients, paying rent, paying insurance, paying for groceries, while trying to do so much DoorDash that I'm making nearly $2,000 a week, which is about 90 hours a week. So now I realized I was colossally fucked. In order to help me out, I decided to hire a media buyer and spend 600 Canadian dollars on one for one of my clients. This was my only client that I was doing Facebook ads for at the time, and I thought if I hired him, all I gotta do is create the content and everything else should be sorted. And anyways, that media buyer was referred to me by a guru whose course I bought, so I thought they were trusted and I thought they were gonna be good, which ended up nearly burning my marketing agency to the ground. And for the first couple weeks, all I was focused on was my clients. I had about 3 weeks to make this payment back, so I spent the first 2 weeks just working on my business. I knew that I would have been fucked, but I wasn't really faced with it. I still had a little bit of money in my bank account that I could pay with gas and groceries, but after a while, my bank account drained and I was at negative $200. My insurance overdrafted in my account, putting me at negative $200. On top of that, my credit card was maxed out to $5,000. Now, when you have a bank account that's overdrafted, you have no cash, and your credit card is also overdrafted, what are you going to do? You physically can't buy anything. Now, as I'm dealing with this whole credit card and just financial situation, I actually met this girl on Tinder. Now, just thinking about it, this should be the last thing that you focus on. However, we met before the whole credit card issue, and if I didn't buy this mentorship, this would have been fantastic because I could have spent time with her, I would have had a lot of money in the bank account to go on dates with. But anyways, I was now fucked and we still had plans for today. So what did I do? I've got negative $200 and I've got a maxed out credit card and I have no money for the date. I could tell her it's canceled. She's been a really sweet girl and I want to continue seeing her. So I started listing some of my camera equipment on Facebook and I found a buyer and I drove 45 minutes away from my home to meet this guy to sell him an old lens with half a tank of gas, meaning that by the time I got there, I was on about a quarter tank of gas and I might have not even made it home. I sold it to him for about $200 and keep in mind, if he didn't show up, I wouldn't have had a way home. I had no money to buy gas. So now with the $200, I filled up my tank with gas for $60 and I had an extra $140 left over. The first date went very well. It was one of the most enjoyable times I've had with a girl in a long time, especially off Tinder. But at the same time of me dealing with an overdrafted bank account, a maxed out and overdrafted credit card, a YouTube channel that I can no longer sustain uploading videos for, and also doing DoorDash for 12 to 14 hours a day, ruining my mental health by only being able to eat fast food on the road, this was causing me stress acne and stress nosebleeds. I had blood vessels in my nose bursting and randomly bleeding profusely from my nose, which wouldn't go away like a normal nosebleed that fills up with a scab or whatever. These are blood vessels popping. My nose would be bleeding for 30 to 45 minutes straight in the middle of the night for no goddamn reason. On top of all of that stuff I just mentioned, she decided to leave me the day before my marathon. Now I'm fucked. This is officially rock bottom for me. I've got no money. I've got about $90 after the date to work with. I've got a marathon tomorrow. Everything is falling apart in my life. As she breaks up with me, which was over the phone, as I was in my car, about to get my race bib and my uniform for the marathon, I'm driving down to the convention center to pick that stuff up, and I'm crying in the car and crying my goddamn eyes out. Not specifically because of the girl, but because of everything going on. It felt like my entire life was collapsing right in front of me. It just couldn't get any worse. What more could go wrong? What, I pass out of the marathon and I don't cross the finish line? But anyways, I make it down to the convention center, I go to pick up my race bib and my race t-shirt, And I was meeting my mother there, and I didn't want her to see me crying like this. My mother or my father had no idea what I was dealing with at the time. Not a single thing. They thought the business was going fine. So what I do is I park, and I turn on the AC, and I put it at max blast, and I put the fan right up to my eyes. I'm putting my face in my dash, having cold AC air blast in my eyes, hoping to dry them out to stop crying. I do that for 15 to 20 minutes as I'm still crying with the fans blowing in my eyes. And emotionally, that was the worst I've ever been. I've been through heartbreak, I've been through hardship. Nothing was as bad as that. Because not only did the girl leave me, but my business was collapsing. My YouTube channel was collapsing. I had no fucking money. I ended up finishing the marathon at 5 hours and 5 minutes, fighting fucking demons. When I crossed that line, I was so happy, and I just felt so powerful. I felt like I'd done something that I really didn't need to do just to bring my life back in order. All of that bullshit I was dealing with, I finally took a win. I ran a marathon with about 3 weeks of training because I was injured for so long. I had so many things falling out that I still ran a marathon. I'm gonna make a whole video going into the marathon, but for now, this was just a little chapter in the whole story that I went through. Now that the marathon's done and my future relationship was also done, I now had a lot of time to focus on clearing this debt. However, keep in mind, I still wanted to revive my YouTube channel, revive the Skool group, revive the one-to-one mentorship program I was doing, all while providing results to my clients. With this $90 in my bank account from selling that camera, I had to slingshot back into DoorDash and not spend my money on anything else. After the marathon, that same night, I went to go smoke some weed with a couple of my friends. My best friend told me, and he explained something to me that changed everything. He noticed how stressed I was. I wasn't bringing this up to anyone, all the shit that I was dealing with besides the breakup, and he could see how hurt I was. He pulled me aside, and he told me to, look at myself. You know, I've got stress acne and getting stress nosebleeds. I'm in debt. I've got no money. Someone left me, and I'm still trying to reach 10K a month by June 21st. He just told me, that goal you set, it's unattainable. Forget about it. And it hurt. It kind of hurt hearing that. But you know what? He was right. I set this goal, which was originally on track to hit easily. And then what did I do? I threw something into the mix, not the girl, the mentorship. As soon as I threw the mentorship in the mix, everything started falling. I had no money, I was in debt, forcing me to do DoorDash to immediately pay it back. My future relationship suffered, she ended up leaving, and on top of that, I'm trying to stack all these things that I gotta do, and now I'm stressed out. It's funny because on the surface level, I probably looked really healthy to most people, especially his parents. I was at his house before we went out. Yet, even after running a marathon, he still pulled me aside to criticize me on something that I really needed to hear. And I'm so glad he did. I was suffering so bad without saying anything, yet he knew what was going on. And it was a hard pill to swallow. You won't make 10K a month by the goal you originally set. I set that goal 6 months ago. It was super attainable, and it was such a hard pill to swallow. He told me, you just shot yourself in the foot. Move on. And even though it hurt, it was a sigh of relief. I was like, you know what? I'm dealing with credit card debt right now. I've got no money. Forget about the goal. Forget about the YouTube. Forget about the monthly recurring revenue. Deal with the main constraint. The main thing that is ruining your life. And what is that? Debt. My whole life was controlled by this debt, which I'd originally introduced because of the mentorship. Focus on one thing at a time. This doesn't mean to not try in the gym if you're working on your business, or don't eat clean if you're waking up early. Don't use this as some stupid excuse. But if you have something that is genuinely screwing you up right now and constraining all of your ambition, focus on that one thing. Get it over with and then deal with the next. If you want to start a business, but your mental health is so bad that you can't even wake up before 12 p.m. and you can't, stop scrolling on your phone, why are you trying to start a business? Start by reading a book. Start with the self-improvement habits. And if you're starting a business and you can't get any success, then why are you worried about starting a YouTube channel to hopefully sell a course? Focus on the business, get results, and then do the YouTube on the side when you have time. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm focusing on my business, and then I'm going to introduce more YouTube content when I have the time. I've done all the work I've needed for my business, so now I'm going to record a YouTube video. It's interesting because although I had weeks and weeks of 12 to 16 hour days of DoorDash to pay off this $5,000 of debt, the hardest part was that 3-day period before and after the marathon, where I was still trying to cram in all my goals with this extremely huge constraint. And as soon as my friend told me, just drop the other stuff, forget about trying to hit 10K a month right now, focus on what's important. As soon as he told me that, everything got easier. I still had the hard work to do, and I wasn't gonna slack. But now I could focus my energy on one thing and then get that sorted and then move on to the next. Of course it sucked. Having to archive my Skool group without saying anything, stopping uploads on YouTube, having people DM me wondering what's going on, while, keep in mind, my business was failing at this point for a reason I'll get into later. I was at peace. I was at peace because I knew I had one thing to focus on, and I could do that thing. And I have to work hard as hell, but I'd be able to get it done. And it's funny, because even though stress was causing me a ton of acne and a ton of nosebleeds, the day after this, all of those symptoms started subsiding. I no longer had acne, and I no longer had those nosebleeds. Even though I was doing 12 to 16 hour days of DoorDash, eating shit fast food, which you'd think would flare up your acne, I looked fine. I looked the best I've ever had, just in the acne sense. And it's not that I wasn't working hard. I was working extremely hard, and I was just working on a prerequisite to the success that I wanted. I needed to do this DoorDash in order to start uploading more on YouTube, getting better results for my clients to then get 10K a month. So now that my business is basically on pause for the next 3 weeks while I pay back this DoorDash order, I had my media buyer delivering a lot of the results to my clients. And boy, I tell you, they were atrocious. This caused a massive issue for my business and nearly burned it to the ground. We were getting leads for $150 each, and a lot of those leads weren't even from the same city that the business was operating in. What did I do? Well, of course I messaged the media buyer and asked what was going on. He said nothing. He left me on red for days and days and days, never keeping me updated. So on top of all those other issues, still sort of dealing with the breakup, not having my YouTube with any content, Skool being archived, oh yeah, and also the debt. My business was now potentially going to lose its only client that I managed to upsell to a $2,000 a month package. This is the only chance they gave me with a $2,000 a month contract, and they wanted to see a proof of concept, and now I was delivering atrocious results. Of course they weren't going to stay with me after this month. I tried everything I could, but it was a tough pill to swallow. I realized I messed up by cheaping out on a media buyer, and it bit me back in the ass. So my friend Omar made a good point to me that I should probably start making courses on how to get out of credit card debt. I'm not gonna lie to you, a lot of people stay in credit card debt for years and years and years. I got in $5,000 of credit card debt while paying for rent and all these other expenses, and I still got out of it within about 3 to 4 weeks. Now, I know I made some stupid decisions, but I'm a fucking champ for that. That's some impressive ass shit. And I'll make a full video on that, but all it took was just understanding how much I needed to make, what my main constraint was, and then acting on it every single day to make whatever amount I needed to in the week. Okay, I need to pay $5,000, so I'm gonna make $1,500 this week, $1,500 this week, $1,750 that week, whatever I needed. And before I knew it, I started taking huge chunks out of my credit card, and now I finally had purchasing power. But getting to the conclusion, what I want to pass on to you is that sometimes the only thing that you're missing out on in your journey to reach success is time. Have you ever thought that maybe the only constraint is the fact that you haven't done what you're doing for long enough? Of course, you're going to learn from your mistakes and you're going to keep providing a better service every single day. However, if you keep doing that, compounding over time, you will reach your success. So don't let some guru or mentor or whoever tell you that you need to buy their mentorship in order to succeed. And that if you don't, then, you might fail. Well, that's fine. If you want to stay broke, that's fine with me. Don't let them do that. Because you know that what you're doing is right. And you just need to keep improving it and keep putting in the reps every single day. And the worst part about some of these gurus is that if you tell them that you don't want to buy their product, not that it's a money constraint or any other objection like a smoke screen, genuinely, you don't want to buy their product, I don't think it would be valuable, then they'll guilt trip you. Because they're above you in some sort of success margin, they're going to tell you, well, if you want to be broke forever, that's not my fault. If you don't want to reach success, that's not my fault. Continue struggling. And they don't get it. That can be extremely damaging for someone, especially when they're starting their business and they might not have full clarity on where they want to take it, or even if you're the overthinking type. They call it the path to 10K a month, the road to 10K a month, road map. All these things tell you that there's different paths to take. Whatever path you're on, don't let someone else try to drag you to their path. As long as you're waking up early, getting the work done, and every single day looking to improve, then you're on the right path. You don't need a guru to tell you, come to my path, come to my path. Because they don't know you. They're going to take you down a hole that doesn't even fit with you. They're going to try to tell you things that you don't need to know. You can figure it out yourself. You are figuring it out yourself. So please, if you're putting the work in, do not buy a mentorship. Only buy a mentorship if you know your path, you know what you're struggling with, and you can give the tools, resources, and information to the mentor to help guide you. Don't let them tell you to do something completely different. Show them, this is my skill set, this is what I'm doing, this is the business I want to pursue, help me with it. And if they try to tell you, you gotta do this, and it's completely different from what you're good at, then fuck them. They're trying to mass market a product to you because they're not creative and they're not smart. So please, don't let a mentor try to take you off your path. Don't buy a mentor if you're already on the right path and all you need is time. And don't let them lead you down their dark path with no end goal in sight.